Mics are live. We're live. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Gymnastics Network. Today is an exciting day because we're joined by two amazing people, Syke Caesar and Sean Golden. Thank you so much for being here today, both of you. Why don't you guys take a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves as we're waiting for the first routine from Army?
Sure, I'll go first. My name is Syke Caesar. I'm currently one of the assistant coaches for Stanford University Men's Gym. I went to Michigan as a collegiate athlete. Helped had a good career there. Won several championships, and now over at Stanford in sunny California, where it's a little bit early here. It's almost 9 a.m. here. But glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Forever and always. Syke is also a part of the Verdius team, and he is an extremely knowledgeable gymnastics connoisseur, as I would like to say. This guy knows more about gymnastics than anybody I've ever met in my whole life, probably next to Cannon. But let's introduce Sean.
All right. How you doing? I'm really excited about today. This is my first time commentating, so I'm just happy to see some great gymnastics. I was a former national team member myself, two-time world team member, and I've seen a lot of great gymnastics. But I'm really excited to see the great gymnastics there is today. I mean, it's come such a long way, and it's been a while since I've done anything on the men's side. I currently coach women, so I've always get my hands back in some way, somehow, and this is the way that I have an opportunity to do it now. So I'm excited about it. So I'm excited about the opportunity, and can't wait to see these guys compete.
Well, I'm happy you brought up that word opportunity. You know, a big thing about the Gymnastics Network and a big thing about Verdius is creating opportunity, right? It's not only creating opportunity for people to be able to come on and cast, but it's creating opportunity for athletes like we see here with our first athlete for the day, Mitch Mchugh.
Yeah, and that's really what Verdius is about. It's all about creating opportunities for the gymnast. On the surface, it might appear to just be a camera service, but it's really just about creating opportunities internationally and nationally for NCAA gymnasts. But let's get into it. This is Mitch Mchugh from Army.
So I guess something I wanted to throw to both of our casters that we have in here today is, what are you guys looking for in a good floor routine?
For me personally, I think floor is all about landings. So I think Mitch here is doing a pretty good job. I think if he hits all of his passes, he's going to have about a 4.9 difficulty. So perfect score. If he gets a 10 in the execution, he'd score 14.9. And a big stick on the dismount always helps. If he does a C or higher value dismount, let's see what he does here. Back 2.5.
Almost stuck it.
That was a good solid for the first guy. You want to get a nice solid hit in, and Mitch delivered for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm for landings too. But I like to see style. It's artistic gymnastics, and I just like to see a little style. I like to see who can separate themselves from tumbling to a little swag. So that's what I'm really looking for.
Hey, I agree on that. Something we talk about a lot of times is like, there's not a lot of events now that allow guys to really express themselves besides, I feel like, floor, P-bars, and high bar. So I'm happy you brought that up. You're actually one of the first guests besides me and Cannon to bring that up.
Well,
Yeah. I remember watching Lexi Namos back in the day. Those guys, and I always said, like, somebody you can watch across the gym, and you can just have blurred vision, that's Lexi. Like, the way he would lift his head up when he did his scissor work, or the way he would lift his head up right before he stood to a double back. You really saw the style. You really knew that was his signature move.
I'm right there with you. Lexi Namos is one of my favorite all-time gymnasts for sure. And he had awesome style. This is Noah Kandosha, I believe. He started with a whip to 2.5. Yeah, connection bonus. So far through his third pass, he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, really, we're going to see a lot of interesting routines. I think that Springfield does a really good job of bringing out that artistic flavor in gymnastics. And they really try to tailor the routines for the individual person. Just being a whip 2.5 isn't really a common pass that you see too frequently. But Noah Kandosha getting it done. Full punch layout half. Heading into his dismount right here. Looking for a really big stick, as Syke said.
Yeah, I think he's going for a back double full.
Full forward.
Front double full. Nice. That's a tricky pass to do as a dismount, frankly. Usually you'll see guys do one of their three passes in combination. But he does get the element for that. So yeah, it's tricky. We had a guy in Stanford do that. I was not too much of a fan. But if he can nail it, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, you guys did have Riley Luce that competed that, I think, in JO's. And he also might have competed it for you guys his freshman year. But
yeah, I wasn't a fan.
He stuck it pretty frequently. No, you can't not be a fan when you stick it like Riley did.
Yeah. It is a hard pass to stick. A lot of times you have to do a spot over your shoulder because you can't look directly in front of you. So it can be a little tricky, especially as the last pass.
Yeah. I'm really happy that you said that. Spot over your shoulder, because no other caster has mentioned, the twisting mechanics of a back 2.5 is really a double twist with a half off, and a front double full is really a 1.5, and then look over your shoulder to finish the last half twist. Just a little bit.
That's what
I think of all landings with twist landings all have the same mechanics, front double full, front triple, similarly to a back 1.5. All that is the same. So you always want to spot over that shoulder to stay square, be able to punch out of it well.
I mean that's really how you could get into good twisting. The only way that you can really get into it is if you have good technique. You could whip a front triple full around and maybe land, but you're going to be crooked and it's not really going to be worth it for anybody's time.
Right. And that's the game. When this system is, bonus versus execution. Always the game that you play. So far he's doing well. I like a little bit more. There we go.
Simple side pass, full, back, gotta stick that. Nice.
Duck a double full.
One thing I've seen some of the Army guys do, they do these simple steps corner, and then those could be 1/10 reductions. You need to make sure you do at least half their way for half.
Really good on this out there to round off 2.5. And I'm not quite sure if he stuck it. It was very close.
I think we're getting a little bit of reverb here.
Yeah, we fixed that. It's all good right. Now.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks to the chat for mentioning that. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, always keeping out an eye for us. Just appreciate the love, guys. But I guess something else I kind of wanted to throw out to you guys is what makes a good floor guy, right? Like everybody knows that if you have a high difficulty and you execute well, that's a good floor guy. But what does a good floor guy look like to you in the gym?
I can say what I like to see. I like to see various combinations of skills, double saltos, forward and backwards, twisting forward and backwards. Two combination passes. I think the ideal floor guy can do really high tumbling on everything. So maybe they'll do a combination pass, and the second skill in that combination pass is significantly higher than the first. Someone that just drops into the landing and makes it look easy and doesn't look heavy. And then to Sean's point, it's got to have some style.
Yes, I think with the rules, gymnastics has come, or I'm sorry, floor specifically has become kind of a power tumbling event, just on a 40 by 40, and so we just lose that style a little bit. So aside from that, because I already mentioned that, I really like to see. I like how he rebounded out of that pass there, so he's kind of covering up the landing. I really like to see, and this is going to sound weird. It's like obviously Sean, but I really like to see, I like this guy right here. He just did a double full. He rebounded out of the landing, covered up the landing a little bit. It's easy to say I want to see really good tumbling, really high tumbling, but I like to see the guy who is going to fight for every 10th. And I see him really doing that here. Stuck that landing there, really fighting for every 10th.
Yeah, this is Jackery Williams. We actually haven't seen him very frequently on Springfield's lineups. I think he came in last weekend. There goes sticking the back 2.5.
It's going to be close. There's a big discussion amongst the collegiate coaches staff with what takes a stick. It's hard to say if your foot slid a little bit or not. If I was there, I'd give him the stick for sure.
Yeah, I'd definitely give him a stick for that.
That was no question.
Chest was up, everything. Yeah, I would definitely give him a stick. Now, having said all that, I mean, I just love to see the big passes, the combination passes. Very intricate. But I love to see the triple doubles. I love to see the double doubles. If you're going to connect, I love seeing connections into big passes like a front full, triple full. You won't see that too much here, but some of the top guys in the world are doing those types of passes. Like I love to see those big skills.
Totally. Well, that was a big pass there with a tuck double. It's an E value skill. He does a combination pass here. Oh, full in. Oh.
He did that last meet also where he nailed his double and just over-rotated or under-rotated his full.
And we've seen this a couple of times now from a couple of guys where it just looks like they're really bouncy on all of their landings, almost like rebounding on all of their skills. What's a way that guys can kind of fix that?
Yeah, that you bring up a good point. To me, it looks like the guy is just a little bit too amped, just like nailed his first pass and is ready to go for the next one. But legs were a little shaky on the landing, wasn't quite thinking all the way through. It's really about getting the rhythm of the routine down. After your first pass, settle back in, take one breath, go to the next one. But if your head's a little bit ahead of where your body's at, you have these mistakes you'll see with the landings. So it's really about going up as big as you can, dropping in, landing. And he did a good job there in the back 2.5.
Not quite sure I would call that a stick, though. That was the foot slide.
So, Sean, I want to ask you a question. What do you really think about the equipment that we use in the U.S.? Because in my personal opinion, to allow myself to be vulnerable, I cannot stand to hear Eddie Panev complain on social media about the equipment every single week. And I'm like, at this point, everybody has the same equipment, at least here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
You can complain about it internationally, but here in the U.S., you're still not doing your job. So he has to figure that out here on the U.S. turf. But I really want to start looking at this mindset of, is it really worth it to go into the Spieth and the Sino equipment?
I mean, I always kind of question that competing, why aren't we using what the rest of the world uses? And when I would go compete internationally, the equipment would be different. Some of them I loved, like the vault table, love Spieth vault tables. Some of them I didn't care for. At that time, so we were still using foam block floors internationally. They didn't have springs. So I definitely loved the American floors more. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about not making excuses. It's all about going out there and doing your job. So, I can say I like this more. I don't like that as much. But at the end of the day, the judges don't care. And so because the judges don't care, because the judges are going to judge it either way, whether it's great or whether it's poor equipment, I always had that mentality going into the gym. Like, hey, I need to get my work done. No one cares. This isn't the best equipment. I need to get it done.
Yeah, that's with that. I totally agree with you, Sean. Just coming back here with John Murphy, he's doing a really good job. He's fighting for everything. He's minimizing landing deductions, and he's got some of that style right there with right before that second to last pass. Let's see if he can nail this last one here.
Oh, went for the round off 2.5 and just did not have enough.
Heartbreaker. That was going to be a solid routine. I'm sure he's not going to be happy with that. Actually, you bring up a good point, Cannon, because even between these two teams, they have two different floors. If you look at it, right? There's an AI floor here over at Army, and it looks like they have a carpet-bounded foam top over at Springfield. There's already some differences there with the bounce and the feeling of the carpet there. For me, in the U.S., AI is basically in control of everything, for sure. But to Eddie's point, the stuff that guys are doing internationally, they are able to do bigger and more difficult and more intricate gymnastics because the equipment is allowing them to do so. So yes, at one point, you can probably do all of those same skills on the AI equipment, but it's significantly tougher and more taxing on the body. So
I definitely agree with Eddie, agreeing that the AI equipment is not on the level of the international equipment, and he has every single right to be mad. But I mean, I feel like I hear him complain about it all the time, and I'm like, you know what I mean, bro? He still has to go out there and compete at Winter Cup. He still, I mean, if he really cared about the change, he has to go move to Japan, or he should go move to another team.
I guess a question I would have is if we had a big international meet here in America where we used AI equipment and some of those, Uchimura, some of those guys who are doing these big skills, competed on our equipment, would they still do the same skills? And if the answer is yes, then I think you really have the answer to your question there.
Well, we saw it with Kenzo at the American Cup 2 years ago. Was the most recent example of really somebody trying to do those harder passes on our floor. And Kenzo almost tore everything in his legs. He did his triple-double laid out really short. But that was Calvin Kingshill, by the way, from Army. But
yeah, Army is actually doing a really good job. They're just knocking out routines right now. They're all hovering around the 13.0 range, which is pretty good considering their start values. And the other thing worth noting is this would be Army's third competition this week. They had a meet on Wednesday. They had a meet on Friday. Unfortunately, they had to end that meet early because the whole building lost power. And it was actually a quarter of the entire campus at West Point lost power because a dump truck hit a power line, and then they just lost power after floor. So they were unable to finish the meet. I spoke to Carmine earlier. I was like, hey, are we all good? You guys got power back? He's like, yeah, we're all good. I'm ready to go. So that's a lot. It's interesting because something like that doesn't happen. But the adversity that the team has to handle and just deal with it and keep it going, that's really good to see. Wow, nice first pass over there by Charles Kramer.
Charles Kramer is a really technical gymnast. You'll get to see. Very nice lines, really good technique.
Really good landing.
He puts a big emphasis on his style of gymnastics. I could tell that he tries to commit to his style, and in all honesty, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I've seen him sit down that double Arabian a few times, and today it looks like he got it down pack 1.5 down the diagonal.
Looks like he starts at a 14.6, and he has an average on the floor this year of around a 12, and his high on the floor this year is actually a 12.7. So if he can put up better than a 12.7, that's definitely a good way to start his meet off today.
Well, like I said, he commits to his style, but it works out. Sometimes it doesn't.
Nice. That's what you want to do. Something else that we haven't touched on yet, guys, but that's really important to remember. This is Springfield's senior night tonight. So this is the last time that a lot of these seniors are going to be competing for this team in their home arena, being with their team. And I'm a little bummed because I had a ton of stuff prepped for this that was graphical, that was going to make this look so nice. But it's not here, unfortunately, because it's not working. But senior night to me is like one of the most important meets, and this is why I prepped so hard for this meet, was because I didn't get a senior night when I was a senior for my year. Unfortunately, due to COVID, my senior night was canceled, so I never got the experience. But I'm excited to watch these seniors from Springfield put it down. That was Charles Kramer for Springfield.
Yeah, Isaac, to your point, I had probably 3 senior nights because I went all the way through my 6th year in college. So I got that senior night for you, no problem.
Hey, man, I appreciate it.
I want an opening debut. I still never got the opening debut.
Hey, bud.
It was supposed to come that next week.
I know.
And then season got cut short.
I know.
So we're expecting a 14.6 start value from Charles here. And
Charles just beat his season high. He went 13.05. He did a really good routine and nailed it with that stuck dismount. This is going to be a really good matchup. I mean, we've got number 15 Army and number 16 Springfield. They're neck and neck in the rankings, and right now they're neck and neck in the scores. So
it's going to come down to who's hitting routines, and right there, you can see Army is not skipping a beat today when it comes to putting it down. We saw a lot of stuck routines today on the floor, more than we normally see, especially from both of these teams, but it looks like that is going to be the last routine for Army, and I believe we have one more routine up for Springfield.
Dominic Ramallo.
Important
to mention
last routine up.
Army has taken Miguel Aquino out of the floor lineup for a reason that I don't know, but Miguel was a really big contributor on the floor.
Well,
so I'm pretty interested to figure out what that decision entailed.
From what I remember, Miguel has competed twice already this week, and remember, Kanan, like we've said many a times, he is a really strong power tumbler. Remember, he does that huge double layout. So honestly, and usually he's got his legs taped up as well. So I really wouldn't be surprised if they're just letting him kind of sit this one out.
I mean, luckily their scores have been pretty good. No score below a 12-8. So
yeah, I think Army did an awesome job on floor. They went 5 for 5. As a coach, you always want to tell your athletes, just hit your routines. If we can go 30 for 30, wherever you place in the rankings is fine because that's as good as you can do.
Nice double layout.
That was awesome, double layout. So I think Army started really strong. Springfield, they had one miss so far. Fighting for the landing on that tuck double front, really, really good. They're going to want to finish off strong because they're, like I said, it's going to be neck and neck.
Oh, see, that's what I mean. He could have just jumped right down to his stomach there without taking the extra steps. So do himself a 10th or 2.
So do you guys teach your gymnasts to jump rather than to step? Because I remember in my JO career, it was always a much bigger emphasis on jumping or hopping a landing rather than to take a step.
We like to say stick, slide, or hop. And there's several reasons for that. One is that you're working on moving both feet at the same time, and that helps you get the stick a lot easier. The other thing is with hopping and stepping, you can take a 1/10 or 3/10 hop, and that's the maximum deductions you can get for a hop. On a step, you'll probably take a large step, more likely front double full. Nice job. That's 2 guys they've got doing.
Would you call that a medium step or a large step on that landing there?
Yeah, that one's gonna go up to the judges, right? It becomes more. They'll likely give it a 3/10er, but with the hop, likely scenarios you take a 1/10er. So not only are you minimizing deductions, you're working both legs at the same time, and you're going to get that stick a lot sooner than doing a step. And you'll also notice sometimes the guys will take a step and then they wobble and then they're literally look like they're standing on a beam because now your center of gravity is split between two legs rather than centered over the trunk of your body.
I want to go back to something we were talking about earlier and sticking. And I'll tell you, one of my old national team members, his coach, Mike Burns, over there at Minnesota, they swore by in that program squats on the yoga ball. And they swore by it. They said it helped them stick. I tried it. I should have videoed it because it was something that was definitely laughable and would have been social media worthy. So I would recommend if anyone wants to try it to do it in a way that it's safe. But they swore by it. They did squats on yoga balls.
I mean, I don't know about squats on the yoga balls, but I definitely know that feeling of kicking out your right hip and trying to move your left.
Not sure why that's
kicking out your right hip and trying to move your left, center your gravity to your left, but moving it in a circular motion is how one of my teammates from Apollo tried to teach me how to stick. He said there's any stick is savable by doing that. And I didn't do floor vault in my time at college, and I didn't do floor vault senior year either due to injury. So I couldn't really explain it to you. If I had him here, he probably could, but it was a very interesting way to stick. I feel like everybody has a different way of learning how to stick.
Yeah, I did too. Mine was kind of like if I wasn't on my face, I was probably gonna stick it. And then if I was not taking a step, I was probably gonna stick it. There was a good I think I'd say it was like a 25% chance. It was never like a strategy. It was usually just like if my feet hit, then I was gonna hit it.
I'll tell you honestly, I did not stick anything. My landings were always terrible.
Really?
All up until senior year when I started to get some real air sense. When I got the air sense and started being able to see the floor, is when I started getting more comfortable going for a stick. All up until then.
This first guy up, he's doing a really good job. He did really nice C-scissor ups, B-scissor in the center. Still swinging. That was a stock lié. Nice, just solid. I mean, that was a solid routine. That's exactly what you want to see for your first guy. Maybe not the highest difficulty, but he executed nice, clean swing, and he nailed that routine. So they're starting on a really good foot here on pommel horse for Army.
Yeah, that leadoff spot is really important. Now putting Matt Davis in the leadoff spot, where usually they actually have somebody else there. Which is
I can see why they do that. Matt is probably their superstar over there at Army. He's been doing all around almost every single meet. He's one of their cleanest gymnasts, and you could always rely on that guy to get a good hit. So it's probably a good strategic move for Army to start them off and keep the momentum going.
What do you like to do, Syke, when you put a lineup up? Do you like to start with, someone who maybe has a lower start value and then kind of build up to your stronger guy? Do you like to start off with someone who has maybe a higher start value and have that kind of be your baseline? How do you choose your lineup?
Yeah, we do. We've done a combination of everything. We've done it where you keep building up to the best guy at the end, but then we take account of the all-arounders. We try to give them enough rest, so sometimes we throw them in the center of the lineup so they have guys in front and after them. But always, first guy needs to be solid. So whether he has a 5.8 start value or a 4.2, he needs to be solid and knock it out to get us started on a good run.
Going into pommel horse, it's a big momentum event. I feel like your floor rotation really has a pretty big impact on your pommel horse rotation. You see Trevor Lamberton here rocking out his set, the first guy up for Springfield.
That's Mr. Lambo right there, man. That kid is a beast.
How that was another solid hit routine for Springfield. This is good. This is good to see. We have a meet here, and these guys are competing, and that's what I love to see. Is they're not gonna get smaller. They're gonna attack, and that's what they're doing so far. So this is great.
Yeah, these guys are hitting. I'm gonna tell you, this is not one event that I was great at. I admire, their fortitude here. Hey, I'm a city boy. I don't ride horses at all.
Sean, you're from New Jersey, right?
I am. I am. I'm from Camden, New Jersey, so right next to Philadelphia. And this one was at my event.
I'm from Teaneck. You know where Teaneck is, Bergen County.
I don't. Which part of New Jersey is that?
North, very north, right next to the bridge.
Very North Jersey, yeah. So funny. I live in Texas now, which is a huge state, and I tell them, like, in New Jersey, you're either a South Jersey or a North Jersey. And they're like, it's such a small state. I'm like, I know, it's so divided, though.
Yeah, it is very different. But this is Zach Mitchell for Army on the pommel horse. Zach is a very big contributor to the team, contributes on pommel horse, parallel bars, and on the horizontal bar.
Nice. Another hit routine.
4-2
Another hit routine. I mean, really the only visual deduction there was on the dismount, a little bit of a stop before he goes up to the handstand. Otherwise, another solid hit, and they're going to love that over there at Army. I think what everyone likes to see, whether you're a viewer, a judge, a coach, an athlete, is you want to see that dismount just fly up to the handstand, or if you're doing the Russian dismount, do a nice Russian with the legs flying up, above 30 degrees above horizontal. And it really shows off the style, but shows off your strength as a pommel horse worker. And that's the last thing that the judges see. They want to see it just be this huge, exciting, an easy, light-looking dismount, and it leaves a lasting impression on the judges.
I see that everybody in their pommel horse routines, and I think it's across NCAA. So I want to hear your opinion about it, whether that the FIG needs to change or the gymnasts need to just be getting better, or whatever that is. I feel that everybody in the NCAA takes a minimum of 5/10 on their dismount. They have 5/10 here and there that they could save on that dismount. So whether that be we need to update the rule set for the NCAA gymnast, or just the gymnast needs to be learning their dismounts in a better way. I want to hear your opinions about that.
Well, pommel horse routines keep getting longer and longer. You have skills like a Magyar and a Savato, which is anywhere between 3 to 5 circles long, and that's one skill. Or you have the flopping sequence, like an E flop, loop, loop, stock leap B, and that's 4 circles long. So these, for pommel horse, lots of skills are combined elements. So, on high bar, a giant is one skill, but you do a flop, that's 4 skills into one. So the endurance is a huge.
Oh,
he's fighting. That's a good example right there. He got a little bit tired, got a little bit tight at the end there, but he still was able to fly up. He'll get at least a 5/10 deduction for the stop. But because his hips didn't come back down and come back up, he should still get credit for the element. It just kind of stopped and went up.
Yeah, I mean, right there, I have him on 3/10 on the stoppage, 3/10 on the rhythm deduction, and I probably have him on another 3/10 on using strength.
Yeah, I would have taken 5 for the stop, 3 for the strength. Coming up, so we're about 8/10 each, so that's about right. It'd be interesting to see if they give him the dismount credit for that.
Really nice scissor work here.
Yeah,
flare work. There we go. There's my pommel horse. Really nice flare work.
But to your point, I mean, the routines are just getting really long, so the endurance is going to be critical. So as you're doing these long routines, you need to be able to do like 40 to 60 circles and then fly up to a dismount. It's a big task. It's not easy. But you'll see the best pommel horse workers, they'll have these long routines and they'll still be able to launch up to the handstand.
Yeah, I really think it's a way that we're training pommel horse here in the U.S. I don't think people put enough emphasis on the dismount when you could see everybody is losing at a minimum of 5/10 on each dismount. And it's an easy 5/10, the last skill, the last thing that the judges see. In my eyes, that's the most important thing to me in a pommel horse routine is if you can do an easy routine with a good dismount, it's much better than a good routine with a bad dismount because you're going to score exactly the same. Your just ceiling's just a little bit higher.
He's really fighting for this routine. I see some leg separations, of course, but really good fight.
Oh, a step on the pommel horse landing. Kills me.
That's my question about the Russian dismount versus the handstand. Like, was that 30 degrees? Was it slightly below? as a coach, I hate to leave things up to question, especially when it comes to degrees. And, judges can't get out a protractor and, okay, is it that? So, that's the scary part as a coach for me when it comes to degrees and when gymnasts have to do things within a certain range is, well, one judge may agree, one judge may not. And, of course, you're going to incur deduction there, even if it's an averaged deduction, you're going to incur a deduction. So as a coach, Psych, would you prefer the handstand dismounts rather than, the Russian and relying on that?
I prefer the dismount that's done well. I don't care if it's a C, a B, a D, an E, an F, doesn't matter, just so long as it's done well. The Russian dismount is a tough one because you have to hit 30 degrees above horizontal, or it's an automatic 3/10 deduction. It's not lead. There's no like it was close. It's 1/10 or it's 5/10. It's automatic 3. It's got to be at a certain height. So the one that was just performed was very close. I would have probably taken the 3 on it. Mm-hmm. That was another solid routine. It was that Juan Gomez from Springfield.
Look at that pop off.
Yeah, keeping it fun.
That was a good routine there. So for me, I'm good with either. For the Russian dismount, someone that comes to mind that did it really, really well, that always launched it up, is the assistant coach over at Illinois, Dan Ribeiro. Mm-hmm. Go back and watch his footage. He was almost in a handstand every time. And you may or may not know, but pommel horse was his event, and he's great as a coach on that event as well.
Could still swing a little bit of pommel horse too. His parents actually own my club gym, so I've hung around Dan Ribeiro my entire life, and he could still swing some pommel horse. Trust me.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, you and I both.
Don't ask me to. I'm with you. I'm right there with you, Psych.
It's like maybe we could get a video of you getting a nice vault stick in. You hopping into the Stanford gym tomorrow.
Oh, there we go. Cause double full shouldn't be too hard, right?
Oh, fighting for it. Got it back. I like to see the handstand moves in the middle of the routine, but you want to see some the rhythm not change, and you want to see it smooth. So he had a little bit of a fight on that one. He's still moving forward nicely along. There's a Tong Fei there. Circling out, circle the handstand. That's a B, that's a C, that's a D. Nice job. Good finish. So that's a good example where the athlete swings to a handstand and only the B version, where he just did a circle to handstand. He traveled down the horse. You get a C. When he comes back, he gets the D. So he'll get the full element group requirement on that one.
Yeah, really, really nice to see. If you're going to do that circle handstand dismount, which I think is really not good for getting a really nice rhythm deduction. I think when you do that circle dismount, it's almost asking to get a stopping deduction or to get a rhythm or get a strength. But if you're going to do it, you have to go for that D dismount because most people on pommel horse are going to be competing a D dismount.
Now, speaking of pommel horse, this next guy up for Springfield here, this is, I believe, Colin Marbury. He's got a really nice routine construction to his set, and we're gonna see some pretty cool gymnastics here during this set. So, Psych, you should give us a breakdown while he's doing this routine.
Yeah, sure. So he just did a C scissor up, curl to the end, breaking out into flares here. That's check here in between in between two pommels, B flare outside the pommels. Whoop. Looks like he's just doing a turnaround there. Looks like another check here. Still in the flare position, going through side travel. This is a key element. Done well. I love this. Oh, going to the hands. Oh. Okay, nice.
So there's the rhythm. There's the rhythm we were talking about.
So how much do you guys both have on that dismount?
For me, and maybe about a 3/10 on the way coming up. They could probably take another 1 for a show of strength as well. I would probably say max of 4 on that. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely had 3 on rhythm. I can tell you that.
Well, in my mind, to me, it's like if I was a judge, I'm not. But you guys are all so harsh. Like, for me, I just love to see the flare, Like, you see that flare, and then his butt is all the way at parallel already. Like, to do that dismount. There's really no reason he should be stopping because he's practically doing a flare in a handstand already, right? So
For sure.
I always love watching his routine. It's just so different, so massive. Like every time I get to watch it, it's a treat. I think he has some of the most explosive flares in the NCAA. But here we go. Last guy up for Army. This is Matthew Martin.
That is a big routine. Should be at a 5.7. Hits all of his skills. Breaking into that crawl. Now he's in the Magyar. So far, so good. Little execution things here and there, but it's a solid routine. Fly up to the dismount. Not too bad. Come on. Oh, Army's going to like that routine.
It's
solid anchor for Army.
I agree with you, though. I mean, I just love to see a really good flare. I just lose myself in, what the execution is. If you show me a good flare, I'm like, man, that deserves a 15 right there.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
That was a 12. I was on, at least a 15.
But you look at Matthew Martin on Army there. Something I wanted to point out: Matt starts about a 1.5 points higher than all of his teammates. So he's just like this absolute monster on the pommel horse.
15-7.
Yeah, 15-7, and then the next highest score, the next highest start value on that team is Zachary Mitchell at a 14.3. So whatever they're feeding Matthew Martin, it's making him pretty dang good at the horse, because putting up a 15-7 is no joke on pommel horse.
Don't even say what are they. I'm sure everyone's getting fed the same thing. He's just cut from a different cloth.
Oh, is that what it is?
Cut from a different.
But here we go. Last routine that's counting for Springfield. This is senior Jack Volvo. We've actually seen him come out of the lineup and then come back into the lineup a couple of times. But he's got kind of a unique style to his pommel horse. He's really hoppy on his hands, but unfortunately falls.
The woo there, it's an E value still. Probably not get credit because he didn't circle out of it. Want to see skills finish in the front support.
I wonder if he's going to repeat it.
I mean, like I've said in the weeks prior, and Isaac just mentioned, Jack has a very hoppy style to all his rushing. And hopping on a woo, there's only one way that it could realistically go consistently, and it is off the pommel horse. Yeah. And I think Jack's going to need to
looks like he's going to repeat
some
it, maybe.
of those problems in the off season.
I believe Jack is a senior.
That gets credit too, and makes a triple rush on the end. Dismount. That's probably
not 30 degrees.
Yeah, exactly. I probably didn't get a little bit high enough, but still solid finish to get back into it. Army's on a roll here. I don't think they've missed the routine yet, or they had one miss, I think. Springfield had to count that miss. With the 5-up, 5 count, every score counts. So with that fight that you were talking about, Sean, even if you fall, your score is going to count. So how you come back and recover and hit the rest of the routine well speaks a lot about the depth of the routine and the depth of the team.
Mm-hmm. And, I'm looking at some of these start values. Some of the guys on floor did layouts. I'm looking at some of these start values on pommel horse. I saw 13.9. And that's the game you have to play with 5-up, 5 count. You can't afford a fall. And so are we going to take a couple of tenths on the start value to make sure we stay on, or are we going to, maximize that start value and risk that fall? So that's game play.
That's a good point with the strategy. Depending on the team that you have and the level of gymnastics, do you go conservative? Maybe this week you want to get a really high score, and maybe you push for the difficulty, or you go conservative and just try to knock out 30 for 30, which might end up getting your team high anyways. Like I said, Army's in their 3rd straight competition of the week. That's no easy task for any team. Springfield, I think, is going to be this is their senior night, so they want to really get these seniors off and let them have a great final meet in their home gym.
Well, currently they are down by 5 points. The current standings, and we'll get the event overview thrown up there for you, but it's 126.5 to 121.65.
But this is going to be the 6th man up. He's doing the all-around spot today for Springfield. This is Dominic Romaglio. All Dom needs to do here is hit a set, and he will beat his highest score. His highest score is actually a 9.9. Which is not where you want to be on pommel horse.
era. Of course, open-ended code, but
Well, he hit his routine. You can guarantee that should be higher than his and high. So hoping that'll hit the double digits.
I think my season high, the JO athlete on pommel horse, was at 8.6 actually. My dad, actually, there are very few videos of me doing pommel horse. My dad said, after floor it was intermission. He said that's when it was a lunch break, and so he would miss my pommel horse.
So it looks like we have a senior exhibition extra pommel horse routine going up right now.
Who do we have here?
So he is currently not on the Verdius platform, so we don't know of his name. Maybe we could get this figured out. But
I believe this
So what does
is
exhibition mean?
Colton O'Brien. I believe that's Colton O'Brien.
Yeah, so the exhibition is an extra athlete that his score will not count for the team, but can get in front of a judge, show us, get a score, and just get that competition experience in.
Okay.
Typically, you'll see teams will do this on senior night, and they'll put their seniors into the line or into the end of the lineup, and get a routine in.
So the whole purpose is so that he can get some experience and perhaps compete this event in the lineup.
Totally.
here's his name is Josh.
Oh,
Come on, fight
Josh
for it, man.
something.
So that's the up down. I think you were talking about there, Psych. In his dismount, he kind of flew his hips up, but then they came down before he came back up again.
Yeah, exactly. The rules state that if there's a change of directions with the hips, it'll get no credit. So I think he's going to repeat it here. And so that's a 5/10 deduction, but if you repeat it, that 5/10 turns into a 1 point as it's a fall. And then you're allowed, pommel horse is the only event you're allowed to repeat the dismount. So
I think this is Joshua Miller.
it was, yes.
Joshua Miller, coming out of Atlanta School of Gymnastics from Atlanta, Georgia. He does pommel horse, P-bars, and high, but really nice to see him exhibition over there on senior night. And, give him a good final send-off.
So looks like currently Army's in the lead by a solid 5 points. Just see them slowly pulling ahead on both events, but Army's having a really good meet for themselves. In terms of where they're standing compared to some of their prior meets, their floor score is only 0.2 off of their best for the whole season. And just pulling up their pommel horse score here, it looks like that's actually their best pommel horse score for the season by, looks like about 1.5 points. So shout out to Army today. They're on fire putting it down. Springfield looks like they're having a little bit of a rougher meet so far. They usually score about 1 point higher on the pommel horse. And they also usually score about 1 point or 2 higher on the floor as well. So Springfield just needs to start hitting routines. That's what they got to do. That's the name of the game. So I guess to throw it to our guests, when you guys are down in a meet like this, what is the mentality kind of moving forward to pull yourself out of that rut of a couple of missed routines?
Yeah, I always like to use running with blinders as an analogy. You know what the reality is. You know you're low. You know you're down. But you always have to compartmentalize and put yourself in a situation mentally where it's every event counts, every skill counts. I've seen people down and they win meets and vice versa. And so I think if you continuously believe within yourself that I'm just going to run this race, or our team, we're just going to run this race, and we're not going to be distracted by things around us and focus on each skill at one time. I think the possibility of hitting and even pulling forward is there.
like we're off with Patrick Armstrong for Army on rings. So far, so good. Good swing elements. Pike Yamawaki known as Johansson. Puck Yamawaki. The Brazil. A little bit of a swing there. So the judges will take 1/10 for each element that's in a swing.
Ooh, nice tuck tap in. Ouch.
He never misses that dismount.
No, he really don't. Look at that flag.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is one of my favorite events. Actually, it's a great balance, especially with today's rings. It's a great balance between swing and strength. I really love it. I really love it when the guys are really going over and beyond and holding these strength elements, really making sure they're maximizing 2 to 3 seconds. I always say to myself 5 seconds in my head. So
that's how you got to do it. Gotta do it.
A lot slower, like for sure, when you're up there holding a cross. You'd be counting to 10 seconds, and it's really only 2 seconds.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they go, well, you didn't stop moving, so we didn't give you credit for the skill. And it's like, I was holding that thing for 20 seconds. Are you serious?
Trust me, Penn State was. I used to get at inter squad get no credit on our rings. Our highest ring score was Isaac at like a 12. It used to be like, well, Isaac is not a 12.
Yeah, they would be like, well, I would literally go up there. I would do it on purpose too. I'd hold the cross extra long before I did my last pull out just to kind of test it. And they'd be like, you didn't hold that. And then I watched the video back. I'm like, I held that for a solid 5 seconds. Like, I know it because they just do it so like, you know, when you're in a meet, you remember to do it. I don't know. By the time I was a senior, I was like, nah, man, I don't want to. I ain't playing these games. Give me my score.
There's no mystery there. Randy Jepson, always a great strength coach. I feel nice front full,
Nice stuff.
Second. And there's no mystery that Randy Jepson had Kevin Tan went on to the 2008 Olympics and was a ring finalist.
Yeah, Kevin's the man. Kevin is actually one of my biggest role models in my life. I really looked up to him when I was training, and I got the chance to meet him once or twice. He's a really awesome guy, and I saw that. Didn't you get to compete with Kevin a couple of times, Sean?
I did. We were in the same quad, and he was definitely my biggest nemesis when it came to rings. We went back and forth a lot, but more me chasing him than him me.
Hey, I know how you feel, man. Trust me. I know that feeling 100%. You know, you give it your all, and then somehow this other guy is just constantly better than you. Trust me, man. I've been there. I have been. But looks like we got our next guy up on the rings. Mitchell Honahan for Army. Guys, you're looking for held strength moves on this event. That's the biggest thing, and good handstand, right? We're always looking for clean handstands. And that's something that Army executes extremely well every time we watch them. You hear from Mitchell, really clean handstand work. A little bit slow on that yam, though. But regardless, something that Army is very, very, very good at that we've seen some other teams below the top 10 really struggle with is handstands. But for Army, it's no joke. And that's another one.
And especially on those stuck landings on rings. My gosh.
They're going for a personal best today. We haven't seen a missed routine or a missed dismount on rings yet from either team.
This is looking good. Mitchell Monahan, for sure, I got to point out, he's got a beautiful handstand. His legs together plunge was really, really nice. Good position. Really clean routine. Also going back to Christian Williams Jr., the first guy up for Springfield. Not the highest start value, but super, super clean. And he's still, his start value is only a 3.4 for a 12.35. Really, really good.
Keeping within that 110.
The first athlete in Army had a 4.3 start and only scored a 12.3. So that's that balance between execution and difficulty. You might not be the strongest guy, but if you're clean, the execution will always pay off. You get 10 points in execution, and maybe if you're an all-star, you might have 6 in the difficulty. So the execution always outweighs the difficulty.
You know, I really appreciate how you mentioned handstands, and I mentioned, I like the balance between swing and strength work on rings, but I'll tell you, especially with ring guys, the handstands are probably the most critical point in the routine. Rings is probably the one event you'll see the least amount of falls. You won't see a whole lot of falls on rings. So a lot of times it comes down to, strength, positions, and holds, but those ring workers, those handstands. Can they hit those handstands? Are they in line?
Ooh, we got a strong guy here. Kip to legs together plunge. Done really well. Has picked up a little bit of swing. Let's see if he can kill it on the next one. They call it the still rings for a reason. Back upright straddle plunge. Nice flat position. Good. A little long in that hold there. Might get a 10th there for the pause. Back upright L.
Got to swing again.
Yeah, that's the big thing. The best guys in the world and the best guys on rings, they keep them still. Tough thing to do.
Little shaky in that handstand. A little shaky again, so that's what I'm talking about. Can you hit that handstand? Be still.
Fighting. See if you can nail the dismount.
Nice.
All right, with a little hot slide.
All right.
Looks like he needs to
really
put up
strong,
a 12.1 to beat his season best.
I think that's going to be a close one. I think the first part of the routine was looking pretty solid, and he got a little bit tired there in the handstands. But we'll see what they do, specifically that last giant before the dismount.
Yeah, I think he got it. I didn't do his start value or do any deduction, but I think he got it on that one.
I believe he starts at a 13.9.
1.8 on that. Yeah, I think 1.8 seems about fair off for that routine. I think Juan did a pretty good job on his routine. I think he has a very good chance of beating his season best.
So, okay, here's something we could try. This is something new that we've been thinking about, but I would say, Sean, since you like the rings, why don't you enter into the mind of the athlete? So pretend that you're this guy right now. What is he thinking in this moment? And then give us a play-by-play of what he's thinking throughout the routine. Can you do that?
I just saw him smell what looked like underneath his arm there, so I'm thinking he's put on deodorant. Don't want his daughter smelling that. No, right now I would be thinking, okay, everyone's hit on my routine so far, and I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning. But I'm going to focus in on what I need to do. I'm going to focus in on my first skill, and it's what I like to call autopilot. That's just where you just let muscle memory take over. But right now, I'm focusing on my first skill, my first key point right now. How well am I going to hold this first strength move? I think that was a little too long in that hold right there. And really just letting my body take over. I'm going to go off on a tangent a little bit, but walking seems a little bit more difficult when you think about how much you have to step and how much you have to bend your leg and push and all that. It's so much more simple when you just do it. And I think these gymnasts, they've done these skills so much in that competition, that's just time to do it. I know it sounds simple, but muscle memory is actually that simple. And that's what I'd be focusing on right now, is just letting my body do what it knows what it needs to do, and taking over at this point. Nice stuck dismount there. The dismount was a little simple. It was a double back. But again, we keep talking about this, balance between execution and difficulty. And, if he did a double-double, would he have fallen? Would it have been a point? And so he potentially saved a lot of tenths there.
Good point. All right, Psych, going to throw it to you, but we're going to switch it this time. So instead of you embodying what the athlete is thinking about, I want you to embody what the coach is thinking about while the athlete is on the rings and getting ready for the event.
Yeah, you never want to know what the coach is thinking about, because it's the last thing that athletes want to think about. They're going to count a lot slower in their head, the athlete is doing. But as this guy goes, lift him up. You got to make sure he's super still. It seems trivial, but a lot of times the coach might move away too fast, and the kid already picks up a swing. So this needs to move right through. If he holds this too long, it could be a 10th in deduction, front up rise L. You don't see that. That was done really well. Hold for 2 seconds. Always say 1,000, 1,000. That's a hollow back press. Good hold. Out a little bit more, but solid. Back up, rise, get back to a good position, get the rings back out, settle in. Shoot, okay, getting it back still. I'd like to see that turned out, but he's still holding. Nice. Like Yamawaki, little struggle tuck, got it back. Back up, rise L, now breathe. 1,000, 1,000. Okay, get it back. Forward roll, probably a full stick that thing. Oh, you gotta stick that, my man.
Yeah.
That's what's going on in my head.
So I could already tell Sykes like, we're getting back in the gym. You're doing giants all week, and you're doing front fulls.
But you have to treat, and this goes back to our floor conversation. You have to treat sticking as a skill. Yeah. It is a skill, and I think that like I need to catch my Kovacs, or need to land this or have you, but you should work on sticking just as much as you should catching those release moves or staying on the pommel horse.
I went to the Michigan versus Penn State meet in person yesterday, and what I've realized is unrelated. Jacob Moore has an uncanny ability to stick.
Yeah, he stuck
actually
everything yesterday.
His air awareness is absolutely ridiculous. And it's clear that he has his sticking skill set on the highest it could possibly be. Nobody sticks like him, and nobody has controlled landings like him.
Definitely.
But this is Kieran Regan. Pretty nice positions, and his holds are relatively good. Here goes that really good handstand that you see.
Yeah, there's a nice handstand, rings turned out.
And Kieran is just a beast. You know, we're going to see him on a multitude of events as the meet progresses.
All right, Cannon, odds he sixes dismount.
Minus 120.
Minus 120? You gonna do him dirty like that?
Favorite. He's a favorite, yeah. That's favorite. Minus is favorite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like to see his rings turned out a little bit more. You can tell he's getting tired.
Not a deep favorite.
Ooh. Yeah, it looks like I'm taking that money.
And, you know, something else, and he did something interesting there in his landing, and something I always go back to when I was always trying to stick. And I guess I never said what my trick was. I said what other people did. But my trick was stay down. Stay down. And I understand your point, Syke. You actually have a really good point. Don't take a step. If you have to hop, slide, cha-cha slide, what have you. But mine was stay down and just keep the center of gravity down. And once I understood, you know, the physics of sticking, and if your center of gravity is lower, you have a higher chance of you're more likely to stick. Then that's when I started increasing my stickability. Was just stay down.
Totally.
And what he did was he went down and he stood right back up and took that step. I'm sorry, Syke, go ahead.
No, it's all good. You're totally on point. And there's an incentive at the collegiate level because you get a stick bonus. So not only do you get the 1/10 in the stick, but you're probably saving 1 to 3/10 as well. So that's almost a 4 to 5/10 difference in your score just by sticking. So it's really worth it, specifically at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
I feel like his legs are a little low there in that planche. Arms were a little bent getting up to that giant.
Let's see, back up rise straddle L, presses to the straddle plunge. Pretty decent hold. He's got that swing though, so even if the positions are that was a little short on the L, I'd say. You know, that's something you see kind of frequently is people forget that the L is a hold skill. You got 2 seconds, tuck double back. Oh, yeah.
See, now that's the thing. If you're going to do the double back, the front full, if you're going to do those types of dismounts, you have to stick it.
It's a B dismount. You got to stick it. But Scott Burns is talking about how you, Syke, are up, and it is you're in the West Coast. It's talking about the time zone, so that you're looking fresh for being up so early.
Thanks, Scott. Shout out to Scott Burns. He opened up his gym during quarantine right across the bay from me. He is one of our guys who have opted out for the year, and he's been training at his gym. Thomas Lee, P-Bar rings guy. He does some pretty unique skills. So, yeah, shout out to Scott.
So what's Scott's gym? Give him a quick shout out as well. He's always in the chat.
Yeah, Scott, he opened up Game Time Gymnastics over in Milpitas, which is maybe about 25 minutes from me. He helped us out a lot at Stanford, helped us put together a new gym.
I like that.
And and in return, he got a nice floor from us. So he's been great.
Shout out Game Time Gymnastics.
Pretty sweet. But here's the big man for Army on the rings. This is Matthew Davis. He's pretty much won every meet he's gone to on the rings. So I'm not surprised if he walks away today with another win. He picked up a little bit of swing there, but we've seen him stick his dismount. He has great giants. He has great holds. He has great strength. I mean, there's really nothing that he's kind of losing on. The only thing today is kind of picked up a little bit of swing in these. Let's see if he gets his dismount. Doesn't get the stick, but still a really good routine. And I see Matt probably taking home the event title today.
You know, I think so too. I'll tell you, you were talking about he picked up his swing there a little bit. He's a little shaky in that back giant too. Remember when I was at an international competition and I went into ring finals and I held all my strength moves and did everything, and then I went up to my handstand and I shook a little bit. The audience went, "Oh," the same as they would if you were to fall off an event. And that's how important those handstand positions are, and that's how they're viewed. They're very important, and some people view them as heavily as a fall equivalent for other events.
Especially in a ring final, like I've always felt. Did you do a back giant or a front giant?
At a point, I did both.
Okay. Yeah, because I've always said you shouldn't do a back giant. Just in my personal opinion, it's just so much easier to mess up on than a front giant. At the highest level, I'm talking about. Not if if you need to count the C, obviously count the C. But if you're at like the highest level where you're just counting D's, you just want to count one giant. Like I'd say front giant all the way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I almost had to catch my back giant in inverted cross and press out of it.
Yeah, exactly. In order to kind of keep it like smooth and make sure you were hitting that perfect handstand every time, right?
Right.
But there goes that tucked half in, half out. Looks like Dominic got a little bit stuck up there, kind of in the air, and it looks like Matthew Davis in first place currently, unless Dominic Romaglio comes out and beats a 13-0 for Matt Davis. But I don't really see that happening. So I'm pretty sure Matt Davis is going to come out with the win today for Army on the rings.
By a half a tenth to his teammate, Matt Martin.
Yeah.
I will say Springfield had a much better run on rings than they did on floor. I'm sorry, than they did on pommel horse. I don't see the score, so I can't definitively say that, but it looked a lot better.
So yeah, I guess that's a pretty good segment into the scores. For the Army side, Patrick Armstrong scored a 12.3, Mitch Honahan scored a 12.6, Matt Martin scored a 12.95, Kieran Regan scored a 12.55, and Matt Davis scored a 13.0. For the Springfield side, Christian Wilkie Jr. scored a 12.35, Juan Gomez scored an 11.45, Trevor Lamberton scored an 11.75, John Robaton scored a 12.2, and we are still waiting on the evaluation of Dominic Romaglio's score.
What do you think it's going to be, Kenan? I think it's going to be 12-7.
I didn't watch the routine enough. I was going to guess between 12-3 and 12-7. Guess that range.
Oh,
but his score,
12-2.
Yeah, his score came in 12-2.
And then I wasn't even close. But I actually think that's a pretty good score for Springfield on the rings. It's right around their average, but you see Army, they're about 2 points off on their ring average from normal. But Army's lead continues to grow as we're going to throw up our event overview here and get looking at the scores that are existing right now. Looks like Springfield put up around a 60 on the rings, and Army putting up a 63.4. So Army's just kind of running away with it at this point, but you got to remember parallel bars and high bar have absolute meltdown potential. So if Springfield just hits routines and, Army doesn't, Springfield can easily take the meet. And, too, Army's worst event is high bar. So it definitely can be tough.
Let me ask you, Shaik, and I'm not trying to side with one team over the other because it definitely can swing the other direction at this point. There's still some room for that. But as a coach, if your team is down, and I know that's hard for you to imagine, but, but if your team is down by several points, and then they just start performing what to be weaker, what your team is capable of. If they started performing weaker because they just kind of had that defeatist mentality at that point, what would your thought be? Would you kind of be like, well, we're not going to win anyway, or would you be really on your guys?
Yeah, well, we've been in that position in our last meet in 2019 at the NCAA championships. We were down almost 4.5 points into the last event. And that was Oklahoma was on high bar, Stanford was on rings, and everyone thought it was a for sure OU win. And we made up those 4.5 points, ended up winning NCAA championships. Our most recent meet, again, we were at Oklahoma, and we were down again about 4, almost 5 points going into the last event on P-bars, and we still faltered. We still had 2 guys fall. The first 2 guys fell, but P-bars is a really strong event for us, so we were able to come together a little bit. We ended up tying OU at that meet, so
there was a little shady
we've been there.
Yeah,
we've been there for sure, and we it's not over till it's over. Straight up, that's like I don't care what the scoreboard says. You're gonna nail your routine. It doesn't matter. You're in control of your gymnastics. You're not in control of the scores. But if you do your gymnastics and nail your stuff, the scores will fall into the right place.
I like that. You're not in control of your scores, but you're in control of your own gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really nice mentality to have.
We heard that from Donovan Hewitt as well.
Yeah, I like that.
I have to say, I know, Psych, you probably can't say anything about it, but yeah, that OU versus Stanford meet, the scores were just a little suspect for me. Not gonna lie, very odd to tie a gymnastics.
I'll give a very basic kind of thought on dual meets, specifically home meets and away meets. I think it's okay if the judges give the home team a little bit of love, or I think it's okay, and they judge the visiting team just like fine and normal. So let's say they give, like, on average, each guy gets an extra 10th on their score for the home team. Or the other option is they judge the home team fairly, and then they're just a little stricter on the visiting team. That's also fine. What I don't think is okay is if they're giving love to the home team and being stricter on the visiting team, because now that disparity has gone up too much. So if the judges do their job, I'd say that the visiting team needs to be at least 3 points better than the home team to secure the win. And I think that's okay. It's not right, but I think that's okay. So did that happen specifically at OU? I won't say anything about that. Yeah. But that's my opinion on home versus away.
Yeah, well, what I will say is it's almost impossible. I shouldn't say it's impossible, but very rare to see teams tie. So to tie on someone else's turf, speaks a lot. You said a 3-point difference to win. I think that speaks a lot to how well you guys did, even with those two falls you mentioned.
Yeah, to Oklahoma's credit, they had a phenomenal meet. They only had 1 fall. We did poorly, so I'm not very happy about that performance.
That's what's so crazy to me about that meet was the fact that you guys, you went like 20 for 30 at that meet?
We counted about 7 points of falls, but we also had misses that weren't falls, so.
Ow. Your team is too good, man.
Well, look. Think about it like this. They got their number of NCs.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cosful. At these meets, who's judging at these meets? Like at Army, are they Army judges? And at Springfield, are they Springfield judges, or do the Army judges go to Springfield and the Springfield judges go to Army? How do they judge this?
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So what Verdius does is they take this, hopefully takes away the home field advantage and the initial biases that judges will have. The judges are at home.
I lost you there, Syke.
Like your audio.
California might be it.
Syke?
Yep. Uh-oh.
We lost you at the judges are at home.
Sorry, am I back on?
Yeah, you're back, bud.
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, judges can be anywhere. They might be all over the country. They might be in Florida and Texas, California, wherever. And what they do is that there's 2 execution judges, and they judge every single routine, and so they bounce between each routine. But the difficulty judges just do the D score, and 1 for each team.
Oh my gosh! Put that double full down. Jeez.
I went for that cause full, little sloppy in the air, and fell to the side, and I'm wondering. I'm looking up his vault. Was that supposed to be a tucked cause full or a laid out cause full?
I think it was supposed to be laid out, but it looked like he tucked it and then just twisted mad late. Excuse me. Yeah. Wow. That's
Well, he committed to the technique. Something I wish I had done when I messed up my own vault.
Yeah, that vault is the vault that I competed through my collegiate career as well. By the end of my career, I figured it out pretty well. Try to do the upgrade, the 2.5, which is now a 5.2 vault. My day was a 5.6, and I think before that was a 6.0. So, I think a good score on vault would be, with these start values, if guys are doing cause fulls, somewhere in the 14 range. Low 14's pretty good. If you're in the mid 14s, that's very, very good.
Now, I have a question for you, Syke. Maybe you can explain this, because a cause full, a full is obviously 1, but it looks like these guys are doing 2 twists. So Can you explain why cause full actually looks like more than 1?
Yeah, so it's a semantic thing, really. So kasamatsu is round off entry onto the table with a backflip and a full twist. So the word kasamatsu already includes the full. So when you say kasamatsu full, that means double twist.
So the full is implied.
Yeah.
So it's actually a double. Okay.
Oh, yeah, and Jacob Nauman just did a cause full, stuck it. So he should get a 1/10 bonus here on the stick. I mean, that's going to go in the 14s for sure. That was a great vault.
I'm happy you guys clarified that, because a lot of the times on the show, just to keep it simple, I do just say like cause double, just so people know it's like 2 twists. But thanks for clarifying that. I feel like it makes it a lot easier.
I literally actually wrote down the time that we started streaming, clip that, and maybe we'll even put on the Instagram so that everyone has it.
It's a good idea. Little nugget of knowledge.
I think well, I'd like to hear a little bit from the chat. If you guys would like to hear some clips and bits and pieces from the live,
I think you cut off. I'm sorry, a little bit from what? I'm sorry.
Bits and pieces from the live streams of knowledge of our guest on our Instagram. Some really in-depth breakdowns of skills, or some really in-depth analysis of this gymnastics state.
Yeah,
I think that'd be pretty cool.
But I'm gonna add a little extra there, Syke, for you then, because as a viewer, I think I would be confused. Let's see what we have here. Okay, nice cause 4.5.
That was Charles Kramer.
Yeah, so that was a 1.5 twist. Should be at a 4.4 in the difficulty. And just back to Jacob Nauman and Army, went 14.25. That's likely going to be the highest score on vault of the competition. That's really, really good score for him. But back to what you were saying, Sean.
And back to yes. So you have a cause full, which you explained as a double full, because a cause is 1 and you have a full. So then explain to me what a souk double full is then. Because is that now 3 twists? Because now they're both vaults.
Really good question. Really good question. So really the differential is the way you twist versus your entry. So in the kasamatsu, it continues in the same direction. In the souk full or souk double full, it goes the opposite direction of the entry. So you can say a souk double full is the same start value as a cause full.
Nice cause there. So that would be your cause right there. I didn't say a full. I didn't use any twist. I just said a cause because he did 1.
Nailed it.
There we go.
And that's it. Gymnastics is super confusing. I watched the NCAA wrestling tournament. A lot of my friends are on the wrestling team, and I realize people don't do a good job of explaining things. But I feel like we have 2 really good casters with us today, and they've done a very good job of making the sport understandable and digestible to the common fan.
Well, there's a question that I kind of want to throw out that makes vault not as digestible, but Something I had heard about you, Sean, was that you used to literally just walk into your vaults.
People say that. They're like, man, you just walked. I wish what I did was I took 10 steps. I was very methodical in how I did it. I took 10 steps and I trotted 5. Oh, nice vault there. Your Chanko style vault, we're not going to see that too often. We see it a lot on the women's side, not super often on the men's side of your Chanko double full, which I believe is worth the same as a Kaz full. Is that correct, Syke?
Yeah, that's correct. And that Yurchenko style vault, if you're able to do it, will generally score higher because the entry position, when the athlete hits the table, the form is easier to keep your legs glued together. So on the Kazamatsu or round off or the Duke entry, what's going to differentiate the best scores are their entry. And usually you'll see a big split with their legs, anywhere between 1, 3, or 5 off just on the entry. But on Yurchenko style, it's very difficult to keep your legs apart. Or it's easier to keep your legs together. So they generally score higher just because once you hit the table, you're already starting at a higher execution. So then it comes down to the form in the air, the block, and the landing.
A good point. There we are with our Kaz half there. And so I trotted 5 steps, ran 5 steps, and I found that to keep me in control of the ball. When I used to just haul and just run as fast as I could, I was out of control. My head was on the table, and it was just too much power.
I'm watching the vault right now from 2008 Olympic trials, and it's very distinct, that 5-step. You could actually count it out. And I'm not even looking at your feet. It's a close-up of your face. For some reason, USA Gymnastics thought that was going to be a good shot. But, it's a close-up of your face, but you could see each and every step.
Yeah, you can literally count it. Boom, 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 boom. And then it goes.
When I did my vault, I started very close to the table. I started at 61 feet, and I remember I took 8 steps into it. But I would see an image, if it was a picture of me, like before I started, it looked like I was in the middle of the runway. And if I ran more, it was too much for me. Even when I did handspring double fronts at a Rocher, I started at 61 feet.
Wow.
Around.
61. Wow. I started at 72.
So you were close to the.
I was close to the back. I was running the whole thing, and I was running hard.
But I'll tell you, Syke, and it's not to say that people who run further back don't have great technique. They do, proven time and time again. But if you do vault closer or have a slower run, your technique better be efficient. Better be very efficient. So to say that you started at 60-something feet and did a front handspring double front meant that you had really good technique.
So
I must have.
So what do you see?
Assuming you did it successfully.
So watching these guys, like, given both of your vaults experiences, like, what is something that you would say to both teams that they need to improve upon on their vault?
One will be first. It's hard to stick with vault. Double twist towards the vault at the end. Those are easier to stick generally. Then the 2.5s or the out. You're doing a round off entry or a Kasamatsu style vault. Hello, handspring double front, big vault, 5-2 crochet. Those are hard to land too. Again, he's facing out. I know that's twisting vaults, and it's technically 3 flips from feet from the board to the mat. But landing a good double front definitely sticks out when you see it. He landed pretty deep squat. We'll see what they do with that. Back to the entry stuff. For Kasamatsu style vaults, always telling them you need to put legs together on the entry, go big, and drop into the landing. And then on the hurdle, you want to make sure your knees are coming up pretty high on the hurdle, so you hit the board in the right place to have a more efficient turnover coming onto the table.
Yes, and I would say execute is something that I would just like to see a little bit more of across the board. You're right, Syke. Statistically, you'll see the least amount of sticks on vault. Vault is definitely the hardest event to stick, but you can improve on some of these these form things right off the board there. You saw that leg separation you're talking about. Saw a little leg separation through the flip too. So I think those are the biggest things, is just really improve on the execution. Vault is the only event, I'm never okay with not sticking, but the only event I would be a little bit more lenient on the sticking, but maximize that execution.
Psych mentioned it earlier about it's what is it? Step and slide. Step and slide on all the landings.
Slide or hop. Those are your only options.
Stick, slide, hop.
Yeah, that's it. Because it's all just about staying in control. Gymnastics is all about showing that you're in control of the event, and P-bars is a really big example of that. If you're not in control going into that handstand, the next skill probably isn't going to turn very well. Probably isn't going to turn out very well. And it's a very good balance of keeping your core tight while also allowing your body to stay loose.
Oh, looks like we had an exhibition vault there. For unfortunately, we don't have a name for him as well. It wasn't in the Verdius lineup, but looks like they're just letting some of their seniors, go out and do a routine just to say they did it, type of thing. So, that's a fun thing for sure, especially if you haven't competed vault and since you're in JOs 4 years out, going out and doing just a cause off the board. That's pretty fun, actually. I would have loved to do that. That's tough. But
so going back to that technical talk just one more time, Psych.
Yeah.
So what the vault that he did, would that be a cause or would that be a supra?
Yeah, that's just a simple souk layout. Once you start the twisting, then the vault names are all these names that you'll hear in gymnastics are just names of people who had done it for the first time. So there's the Kasamatsu Japanese gymnast, Sukahara also a Japanese gymnast. That one is just the souk layout, or souk for short, Sukahara layout, and I believe it's a 3.8 start value. It's pretty low on the start value range. Might be lower, maybe 3.6. Junior gymnasts tend to do that vault, and it's a good timer or prep for doing the bigger twisting vaults.
I think a pretty good rule of thumb when it comes to vault and explaining it to somebody is if you see them cartwheel onto the table, that's a kazamatsu, and if you see them do a round off onto the table, it's a souk. And then I usually just have this rule of thumb is I just say the vault, as it's called, if it's a double twist, it's a kaz full, and be like, but that is a double twisting vault. Just to keep it simple for everyone. I think most fans can make a pretty good distinction between a cartwheel and a round off. And see that distinction.
No, I think that's definitely a good way to kind of explain that. I know we're talking about gymnastics, but one sport I struggled with was ice skating when they explained this is a Lutz and this is this, and sometimes you twist in and sometimes you twist. So, really learning that difference helped me a lot. And so I hope learning that difference helped other people. But even with you explaining it, that really simplified it too. I never just said it's a double twisting vault no matter which way you come in. So that's interesting too.
All right, here we go. The first guy up for Army. This is Patrick Armstrong.
We've seen him first on a couple of events today. It seems like he's Army's leadoff guy, meaning he's just very consistent across the board, and he probably doesn't have the biggest start value, but he's consistently putting down a good routine. There's that double pike. Good landing. Doesn't quite get the stick. I don't know what that was, hopping back and doing that little dance there.
One thing that sticks out with me, though, is his toe point. And that's what I mean when you're really looking at execution and looking at everything. So that's one thing that really stuck out to me. Toes just weren't quite as pointed as they should have been.
Yeah, that's a good point because the increments that judges are allowed to deduct are only 1, 3, and 5. So even if it's just a small flex foot, that's still a 1/10 deduction. Grand scheme of things, that's pretty harsh for just the feet. But it's a very simple thing to fix. As a gymnast, that should be something you always focus on.
So pointing your
for
feet
me was one of my strongest events as an athlete, but I hated training it because every time I leave, I left bruised and bloody.
Yeah, I feel that.
But you call it a small thing when you really think about it. This is a 5-up, 5-count meet. If one person flex their feet once per routine, that's 5/10.
Yep.
you add that up throughout a whole competition, just one flex, and you're down by over a point there. So well over a point.
Yeah. We call that thing to fix the low-hanging fruit. It's something that's very simple, but it goes a long way. And just like you said, everyone points their feet all the way through. You're saving 1/10 per athlete per routine at least.
So in your guys' eyes, besides toe point, what makes P-bars look good? Not just big skills, not just like really, pretty execution, but what's that like minute thing that a guy needs to have on parallel bars that makes them look like they're ready for the next level?
Yeah, you have to have super. I'll go first, Sean.
Oh, okay. I like to see control. I like to see, high bar is an event where you just swing and it's explosive and you let go and you catch. And it just keeps going and going and going. I like to see guys who can go, and then stop in a handstand. Go, and stop in a pike. I like to see people who have that amount of control.
Yeah, for me, I want to see a beautiful handstand line, straight as a pencil. I want to see a rhythm in the routine where it doesn't look like they're kind of using strength when they should be using swing. Those are really the two major things. So I don't like to see bent arms on swinging elements. I like to see nice straight arms and just like Sean said, do a lot of stuff and then stop, perfect handstand. Do a lot of stuff, stop, perfect handstand. That shows a lot of control and mastery of the event.
So do you guys have a telltale that says like, that something's going to happen? So I talk about it. You guys both mentioned the handstand is very important on P-bars. I think it's the most important thing. Second is rhythm in a P-bar routine, what I'm looking for. But I always talk about that there's telltale signs going into good and bad gymnastics. Like bending your arms right before your dismount on a P-bars is my telltale that I am not going to make that dismount. If I bend my arms going into. So do you guys have any telltales like that?
As an athlete or as a coach?
As a coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Bent arms is definitely one. You can really buckle there. Not holding the handstand. So what he just did there was a Healy twirl, spun a full turn and caught. A lot of times when guys don't hold the handstand into that and just go right into it, sometimes they'll miss their hand. And that leads to that bloodiness that Syke was talking about. So those are my telltales there. It's just, it goes back to that control, not having control over what you're doing, looking out of control before you get into that skill.
Yeah, for me, there's a couple of elements that become more common on P-bars now, like the basket to support. There's a requirement that your legs, your catch position, you need to be at or above horizontal for no deduction. So far, every basket support I've seen has caught pretty low. And so they're getting hit there for sure. If your feet are below the bars, that's an automatic 3/10. And that element's only a B value, so it's a net loss of 1/10, right? And that's an easy thing to fix. There's some simple things. You change in direction, so back to that Healy element, you went Healy swing handstand. You got to hold for 2 seconds if you're changing directions, which that athlete did. If you missed that 2 seconds, an automatic 3/10 deduction. And all you had to do was hold a handstand, which should be a breathe, a rest element, right? Those two things in particular are some of my gripes I have about the event. And a good L seat. His isn't too bad right there. Maybe the feet were a little high. I like to see the L with the hips directly between the wrists and the feet straight out. Sometimes you'll see the hips back. Pass the upper arm, back up, rise, handstand, not too bad. He has a little bit of a lower back arch, but so far so solid.
I'm sorry. My whole leg's a little apart there in that Diamondov. It goes back to those skills being named after those gymnasts. That was named after a Soviet gymnast.
He had a really nice double pike, actually. Good pop off the bar, just wasn't quite ready for that landing. Kind of opened up a hair early.
And that was right there. That was a good example of what I was talking about before, staying down in the landing. I would have liked to have seen him have bent legs, and even if he took the step, stayed down. He had straight legs, and so his center of gravity was higher.
Sure.
But what we were saying kind of leads me to a question for you, Syke. What is your pet peeve as a coach? Like, what, as a coach, the building could be burning, and you're completely okay with it as long as the gymnast doesn't do blank.
If an element does not require the gymnast to split their feet, they should not split their feet. That's it. Unless it's a straddling move, your legs need to stay together. Your feet need to stay like the most basic stuff really is what bugs me. When you see these guys do big high-flying skills, but then the form is bad, that just, that makes me upset. Well, there's an example of the basket to support element. Caught slightly bent arms, feet a little bit low. That might only be a 1/10 for the catch position. Press handstand. You need to hold this for 2 seconds. Healy. Let's see if he changes direction. 1,000, 2,000. So that's a good hold.
So we have a question. So I think we mentioned in the chat about the sticking position and means staying down. The question in the chat from my friend Sosa is, what do you mean by staying down?
Mm-hmm. If you look at a lot of the Japanese gymnasts, which they're beginning to deduct for, they're a little bit too far down. But if you look at a lot of them, their legs are bent and they're low to the floor. And again, those are starting to get deducted now, so I wouldn't emulate that too much, but it does still speak to my point. And they're staying low to the floor. And even if you have to take a step, your chest stays at the same height. You don't straighten your legs. You don't stand up and take a step. Your body position is the same. You just take a step while still having your legs bent and still staying low to the floor. And until you have 100% control is when you stand up. So that was kind of the philosophy I went by.
I would just call it leg day.
You would call it what?
Leg day.
Oh, leg day. Yeah.
This leg day, we always talk about it. It's a Penn State joke, to be honest. But Penn State is like big on lifting weights as athletics as a whole. You say, hey, like you don't have a weight room. You go to another team, you don't have a weight room. You don't got a weight room, or you don't. You didn't stick that, and it's because you didn't have the weight room.
Yeah,
always leg day.
Yes, and you don't quite. And I understand your point. And so this may sound a little different, but I don't think it is. But plyometrics, I think, is just a huge part of gymnastics. And if you're not really focusing on those legs and the plyometrics, strengthening those legs in those positions, and it's going to be really hard to mimic them in a landing.
And that was kind of what you were talking about earlier with being able to do some of those exercises on the yoga ball, right?
Right, which again, I would not recommend unless you're in a very safe environment, unless you want it to be funny and then, do it and post it and tag me on it.
I gotta get a yoga ball.
I've done it. I've actually done that before. You can bust your head so quick doing that.
Oh, we know you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, I keep coughing. Sorry, guys, I do not have COVID. I had
No
it a couple
problem.
months.
Well, we're socially distanced, so even if you did, I think we're good.
Just,
That was Christian Wilkie Jr. for Springfield. Again, not the highest difficulty, but what I like about his gymnastics is that he's clean and he keeps the execution all the way through. He only did a B dismount, but I'm sure he'll have one of the higher execution scores in this routine or in this entire P-bar run.
I may ask you to put a mask on if you keep coughing, though.
I mean, that's how I'm feeling. Here with me, I'm like, Cannon, what are you doing coughing like? He came in the house today and he was like, yeah, yesterday was cool. And I was like, what'd you do yesterday? And he was like, don't worry about it. Now he's coughing like crazy. I'm like, Cannon.
I watched the UFC.
Big allergy season.
Yeah,
I'm a
allergies.
UFC.
Oh, you're a UFC fan? That makes you
fan, connoisseur.
I got you.
Athlete.
Now that makes sense to why you're in my apartment coughing all over. Makes sense.
Is Kieran Regan for Army. He actually does. Nice. He did 2 long hang elements, a giant and a moi, and actually that's another one of my pet peeves. Hard to tell on here, but if you do a giant and your feet swipe the ground or hit the ground, those can be two different deductions. If it's a swipe, it's a 1/10er, but if you hit the ground, it's 5/10. So far, he's going through this routine pretty cleanly. I like it. Go basket support to the L. Caught pretty low there.
I'd like to see his handstand line a little straighter.
Sure. Let's see how he gets this dismount through. little dumpy back, but kept it on his feet, keeping the hits coming for Army here. Good to see.
So you mentioned that word dump back, and I've never heard anybody other than me say that on a P-Bars dismount. So can you explain what you mean by dump back?
Sure. It means on the downswing from the handstand preceding the dismount, you start leaning back and your shoulders fall back behind your wrist. And rule of thumb is you want to kind of keep your shoulders above your wrist so you have a most secured support position. So this athlete dumped back, which means dumped his shoulders backwards, leaning back off the P-bar. So instead of the dismount popping off the bar, it basically rolls off the bar. And he's flipping on the way down versus then popping up and flipping up. Yeah. So that's how you can tell if they dump back.
Yeah. So how much, if any, is that of a deduction does that incur?
Yeah, it can get a height deduction for not being high enough off the bar. By the way, he just performed the basket to support with no angle deduction on catching with his feet up. He's the first athlete so far that's done that. He did catch with slightly bent arms. But yeah, you can get a height deduction, and then on your landing, you're likely to land with a lack of prep with your chest low, and then you're probably likely to take a hop or a step or whatever. So it's a domino effect, right? You want to go up and drop into the landing, not dart into the landing.
Yeah, there's no deduction for the technique.
Nice double front dismount. There's a different dismount.
It's almost just, it just creates a scenario where you're more likely to get deductions. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I see everybody dumps back on their P-bars dismounts. There's very few people that I see really do a really good double pike popping off the bars. I think double pike is almost like you're supposed to dump off a little bit, but it's not to that point. Not to the point where you're rolling off the bars.
I would say pull up Blake. Double pike.
You had a couple of good double pikes at Stanford, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you guys got some wicked ones.
I was gonna say the one that always comes to mind is Alec Yoder's. Alec Yoder has
very good. I like Yoder's. Paul Hams was very, very good as well. Those are some of my favorite ones. I think Yoder's might be my favorite just because he kicks out almost at vertical.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Oh, he does that on his double on rings too.
Andrew Brower as well from Ohio State. Andrew Brower has a really nice double pike.
Yeah, he does.
I did want to quickly shout out Christian Wilkie Jr. at Springfield. I told you he had super low start value, but he scored a 9.25 in the execution, and currently he's leading P-bars, and he had one of the lowest start values. So again, the execution always outweighs the difficulty.
Sneezing.
Yeah,
shout out Christian Wilkie Jr.
Matthew Davis on the parallel bars, big man on campus. You know, every time we get to watch Matt Cannon, the only thing I can think about is how much better he is than me at gymnastics.
You know, I think about sometimes too, especially someone who's not super familiar with gymnastics, like some of the names of these skills, like you called that a bat. No, that wasn't a basket, but some of these are called peach baskets. You know, some of these names, I would be a viewer looking at it like, okay, peach, but where do they get a peach basket? What is that?
Yeah. There's a lot of, you bring a great point. First off, that was an awesome routine by Matt Davis. Wouldn't expect anything less. He's being solid this week, or in this meet. But there's a lot of like slang almost for gymnastics skills. You'll hear stuff in Great Britain that they'll say, what Americans would say jam, which is a stoop in, shoot out a handstand on high bar, and they'll call it a squat dislow. Same skill, different slang.
They call it a what?
We lost you a little bit. What
I've never heard that before.
On high bar now, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the jam, which is actually known as an adler. That's the actual skill name, is an adler to handstand. In America, we call it jam.
He said
in
America.
The UK, they call it squat dislocate. They squat through dislocate.
So we have another question in the chat. Asking where the names originate. So a lot of the names originate from the gymnasts that created the skill. For example,
Nakayama.
Nakayama is a Japanese gymnast. Kazumatsu is a Japanese gymnast. So it all just depends on who created the skill. There's a skill called the Wittenberg.
Off right there. Tepelt was from German. Was he German?
Either German or Hungarian. Sven.
Hungarian, okay.
Yeah, the skill is just based off the last name. but a lot of times gymnasts do not call it by the last name.
Yes. Front half, which may have a name, and that kind of speaks to what you're saying too. First of all, you taught me something new. I always called it a jam. I didn't know the name of that skill, but you taught me something new. But sometimes we don't know the name of the skill. We just kind of piece it together. Like, well, we know that was a front with a half. We call it a front half. It may have a skill on floor. Full twist and double back is called a sukahara, actually. Yep. Really? And if you were to say sukahara, one would assume you are talking about vault.
Yep.
We just nickname that full twist and double back or full end. So sometimes we do that as well.
Yeah, I see in the chat, Simple Sosa asked about the peach basket and specifically. In the code of points, any element in that category is just called a basket. But for some reason in America, we say peach basket. There's no word peach in the code of points. FYI.
Really?
Yeah, so
learn something else new.
Yeah, I didn't know that because I've been
another element that's common on high bar is an Adler type skill. The Takamoto is what they call it. Again, in the code of points, there's no word Takamoto. That's just a slang. Yeah, an athlete back in the day used to do. It's called an Adler full or an Adler half.
Really?
Yeah.
I always call it talk half.
I just called it a stoop.
Yeah, that's what I called it, talk half or a talk full.
Yeah.
I was weird. I called it stoop.
Stooping. I haven't heard that word in forever. Stooping.
stoop half, stoop full. Yeah, but for the viewers out there, it's very difficult for us to go through each skill and explain each and every name, and it just comes with a built-up, I guess, knowledge of gymnastics. And the only way that you're gonna get it is by watching gymnastics or doing it or talking about it.
Yeah.
Which is why we put a pretty big emphasis on talking about the skills.
So something I wanted to try out for the last event as we're winding down into here is I gotta give a shout out to Ambert. He came. We were on the phone last night, and he was like, "Hey, I got this game I want you to try." I was like, "What? You have a game you want me to try?" And he came up with this name for a game called Texas Stick'em. Okay. So basically, how it works is Psych and Sean, you'll both give me who you think is going to stick. So for both teams, and I'll just write it down here on a piece of paper, and then at the end we can compare and see who actually won. But here, I'll have you go first, Psych. An X is no stick, and an O is a stick. And you can kind of just compare on the lineup. Do Army first, and then do Springfield.
Yeah, I'm calling the fifth guy an Army will stick.
Okay.
Let's see. Do I have to call it before they even go, or can I call in the middle of the routine because
No, gotta call it right now. Gotta call it right now. So we're locked in.
I'm gonna take 3-10 hop.
I'm gonna go with.
Oh, step.
Wait, was that Patrick?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't say Patrick because I was about to. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with. I think my boy Calvin's.
All right, Calvin. So you
got
Calvin.
To go with the X's and O's, like hugs and kisses. All right.
Yeah. So I have it in the chat right now. Isaac explained it to me last night. So you almost go in order of 5 X's or O's. So I picked that Patrick was gonna stick. Zach Mitchell is not going to stick.
Sorry.
Calvin Kingston is going to stick. Miguel, who I believe does a double layout dismount, will most likely not stick that. And then Matt Davis, I also picked for a stick. And I'm about to put in my picks right now for Springfield. So
X means stick, is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
So, you said X means stick.
Yes. If you guys are in the chat, you guys can also.
No. O is a stick.
O is a stick.
O is a stick.
Okay.
Oh, I have X's as my stick.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you did X's, Kenan, we'll keep it as X's.
Who do we have next for Army? Is it Zach or is it Calvin?
It's Zach.
Okay. I'm gonna go X for Zach. O for Calvin. X for Miguel and.
All right. And that's your Army pick. And then what do you want for Springfield?
I am going to go O on Charlie.
Okay.
This is Charlie right now, correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go O for Alex.
Okay.
X for Dane.
Here.
O for Kyle. Oh, what did I say? Did I say O?
Yeah, you had a no for that.
I think I said an O for Kyle. And X for
Don.
Is that Jackery?
Oh, Jakiri.
Jackery?
It's Jackery.
Sorry.
Jakari. Right. And X for Dominic.
Dominic. Got an X. Okay. So you got 4 sticks on Springfield.
Yeah, I'm
Oh, so you're letting it ride.
yeah,
I'm letting you know.
just putting it out there.
This was Vegas. +2 right now.
Hey, you got it.
I'm with it.
All right, Psych. Let me hear your Springfield.
I threw mine in the chat on
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so
but if I'm wrong, you just flip the X's in.
Yeah, you didn't understand which was which, right? I mean,
Well,
I done a better job.
For me,
it's
Zach
okay.
Mitchell, I put an X. And
so right here we have.
if these sticks or not sticks will determine what my X means.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
I put an X for Dak as well. So
So are your
He's
X's
about to do
denoting
something
sticks?
really unique. These are called German Giants.
German Giant. Yeah.
Work so
E-value
lost on this
element.
game.
Oh, he's fighting for it. Coming out.
Now here's
All
here's
their
my
good-
question for you, Psych. Was there a gymnast named German, or did the German team do that, and so they just named it after the country?
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. Some elements they don't have names, and they made up the name for skill. So German is one of those things. It wasn't a man named German. Oh, full in, step back, up. I guess I got it right on my.
Wait, I hate to cheer on that though. Like I want to say you should have stuck it. I also want to win. I don't see now you've made it competitive and.
That's the point. It's supposed to be competitive. Shout out to Ambert Young for coming up with this game. I think it is a good idea, and he's also here in the chat. So shout out to him.
Yeah, Amber, go ahead. Go put in your X's and O's. We have now established that X's mean sticks and O's mean no stick. I think, right?
So O is like oh, and the X is like. I got it.
Oh, all right. So then that's backwards.
That's what I have. I agree with Sean because that aligns with my.
All right, so we're saying X's are sticks and O's are misses, or
No, X
No,
is
opposite.
no.
X is a miss.
This is the universal sign of no.
X
Yeah,
is miss.
no.
Got it. All right, X is miss.
And the O is
All
oh
right.
yeah.
O is oh yeah, he stuck that.
So
All
I'm,
right.
I'm gonna retract my message
I
in the chat.
gotta shout out to Josh Mode. Actually, fact check me. He's right. They're called check. Put a point. German Giants. America, we call
Is there?
them. No, but we had a gymnast. David Jessen, who represents. He does have a pommel horse.
Hey.
I didn't.
All right, well, we
Yeah.
got Dane Kramer up for Springfield on the high bar. It looks like, from my notes here, that Sean is predicting that he will stick.
Yeah.
So let's go.
I predicted a stick too, so we're good.
You sure?
Yeah, I put an O in there.
I might have to scroll up and check. Oh, it looks like you got that
Cannon
one.
just retracted his messages. You can't do that.
Oh no, I just flipped it so everybody's on the same thing.
Oh.
I just made my X's an O and my O's
We
an
play
X.
we play a gentleman.
Oh yeah,
Oh!
you get locked in, bud. All right, I mean, we got one stick already, so
I'm definitely
Now
not gonna get
remind me what
locked
I
in on
have
the
on
wrong
this
code.
gymnast here.
I'm gonna switch my code.
I don't know.
I should have written it down myself because you've written it in pencil there. And
Well, I
erased it, so.
got a pen on me. Don't worry. We keep it legit in here.
All right.
All right, next up for Army, We got Calvin Kingshill. Looks like we've only had one stick so far come out from Dane Kramer, and I believe Calvin Kingshill.
A couple of those athletes stuck it, but they don't get the bonus.
Does it not come up on here?
But I still get the W. Make sure.
I got Calvin too, man.
Oh, man.
We got Calvin going. Nice Stalder.
We only have a 13-7 start on him, but that speaks to what we were saying before. He has to keep the execution down with the start value there.
So there's the Adler or Jam, and then he did an L-grip Giant, formerly known as the Eagle Giant. Now he's gearing up for his dismount.
Come on, baby.
He's gonna stick it.
Sheesh!
Yeah.
Let
me see what I put.
For me, I like watching the high bar routines or whatever routine, and you can tell in the rhythm of the routine, like they're absolutely nailing it. And you can almost tell, for me, on that wind up, I was able to tell that guy's going to nail the dismount for sure. So there's like this rhythm, this energy going through the routine, and he nailed it. He did his job. So that was awesome to see Calvin.
Well, normally we've seen a couple of meltdowns from Army over on the high bar, but looks like they're kicking that joint to the wayside today and saying, look, we're going to start putting it down. Dane Kramer with the stick. Calvin Kingshill also with the stick. I don't know who's winning right now, but I'm going to say that Shannon and I are winning. So.
Yeah, I just got that last stick. I got the stick from the last guy on Springfield.
Well, Sean did as well, so.
Jeez.
Yeah. I missed that guy.
Psych. Come on, man.
Now, is that a deduction how he swung back and forth there before he did his high start?
So you're allowed up to, well, it's not written in the FIG code of points, but in the junior rules, you're allowed up to 5 swings before you go. But that was a big Tkachev that he did. Straddle Tkachev going into an endo here.
Fingertips on that
See if he's
Tkachev.
wind up for the dismount.
That's deep.
Lay out, pull out.
Another one. Let's go.
Let me check my spring. Jeez, so I got the past 3 sticks. I got 3 on me right
now. Not cool.
Yeah, that was the only one I listed as an X.
You gotta bet on Jackery. I seen Jackery's last week.
Like Sean will not be getting a point, fortunately. But for the gents in the studio, we're rocking out.
Man. All right. Come on, guys, don't fail me now.
Here is Miguel Aquino.
I don't think we heard you guys, verbally say who were X's and O's. I don't know.
Wait, it's in the chat.
What?
We got it in the chat.
Oh, do you? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, nice Zuli in there.
Where's yours?
C-value
I'm playing
element.
with you.
Oh, all right. That's fine.
Turn up for a release move. Straddle Tkachev. Little bent arms on the way out, but kept it going.
Comes
he's going to do another Tkachev element with a half. Nice move. That's called a Lynch. The one-arm giant. Lynch was a Stanford gymnast, Olympian, Olympic silver medalist on the parallel bars. As a shout-out to him.
Pierre Lynch, yes.
Yep. Going for the dismount. Layoff. Full out. Oh, it took a hop.
And you just continuously educate me here.
I do not have that.
I did not know that was named after him, although he was a gymnast I definitely looked up to when he competed in the 96 games.
He's one of my heroes too, my man. Don't worry. I got total fangirl moment when he came into the gym not too long ago.
I need to make a graphic so we can play this more effectively. Oh, it looks like somebody sent us a DM. Oh shoot. I'm gonna get this ready.
So far, I think this is, Army. Again, I can't keep mentioning enough. This was supposed to be the 3rd meet in a row. I mean, it is the 3rd meet in 1 week for Army. Doug Van Everen, the head coach there, he's all about giving these guys opportunities. He did the world's first international dual meet earlier this week. He had another one lined up 2 days ago with Air Force, but they lost power. got the power back. They're doing another meet against Springfield. I mean, that's no easy task, and he's all on board. So really big shout out to Doug. He understands the big picture in the sport of collegiate men's gymnastics.
Milwaukee. Mm-hmm.
That's just
Tkachev type. And, you talked about what kind of signs do you see when a gymnast is about to mess up. You also see high bar is a really good event to see what skills gymnasts are going to do before they perform them, just from their preparation, or the tap, if you will. The tap is a type of swing they do into a swing.
It's another stick.
I don't remember what I had on him.
Kenny, do we hit
some of these guys? You can see, this will be a Tkachev or this will be a Kovacs, just from the preparation.
No, we didn't have him. I think Sean just pulled into the lead.
Sean, how many do you have? Isaac wrote down.
I have his stuff.
This is so cool because, I mean, we've got, you guys call it the stick train. So right now, that was Springfield's third stick in a row.
I should have thought about that when I was putting in my X's and O's.
I know.
Well, you were thinking about hugs and kisses. Your problem,
Yeah, probably a little bit too much, actually.
Looks like Matthew Brown gave us a quick shout out on the Instagram. Looks like he's enjoying the meet, so shout out Matt Brown, man.
Shout out Matt Brown, man.
Matt.
I asked him to come on the show, and he was super down to do it. He just couldn't make it that one meet. That's the Springfield recruit there. Really good guy, really good gymnast that they're recruiting from. I don't know where he's from, but going to Springfield in the next year. So.
All right, last up for Army, we got Matt Davis. They're all-arounder. See if he can put it together on the last event. This might be Army's best run on high bar we've seen this year.
I'm predicting a stick right here.
Nice back up rise, half pirouette. Gearing up for Tkachev element. Battle, nice. Called a quast. You want to try to catch within 15 degrees of handstands. A giant hop full. That's called a Robalco to mixed. Get up to 30 degrees for that for an angle. Did really well. Good form. Stalder. To a half Higgins or to an L grip right there. Nice. He's clean. I love Matt's lines.
Come on, Matt. Come on, Matt.
Stick.
Put that down.
Here it comes.
Let's go.
No way on that tap.
He's stuck. You can tell by his teammates right there. That was huge. I called that.
Oh yeah.
Matt had it.
You did.
I got it. I just did not expect it on that tap.
I didn't either. The way he because you always talk about that weird pull out guys do, and I saw him pull the bar way out, and I was like, oh, he's gonna go way far, way far.
Yeah. So if you don't know, the way that you angle your shoulders and angle your shoulders and your hips on the high bar dismount determines where you're gonna land. And Matt Davis pulled out a little bit Tkachev-like to me. Where Tkachev, you want to be going backwards, and the dismount you want to be going down and outwards. He just pulled a little bit too far out for me, which shot his dismount forward pretty far, and I didn't think that he was going to get a stick, but here I am corrected. Matt is just
That's an interesting start. He's starting in
grip. Yeah.
I actually used to do that because I sucked at. I couldn't do a full spin into L grip, so I just would start in it to get my credit. But his kid is massive. You can see that beautiful Tkachev there. But in reality, I just want to know if he can stick this dismount and whether or not Ken and I are going to win the game. So,
nope.
Painful. I don't think I had him as a pick.
I don't.
You did not. You did not.
I did though.
Dang. All right, we need to tally up everybody's scores as we get the event overview up. So Ken, why don't you take a moment and do that for us as we get into it? But
I want to make a mention on the Springfield guy. I think they have one more.
They do, yeah. They have one more for exhibition.
But they also had a pretty tough go at it with COVID in terms of their training. They also didn't get, like, similar to our team at Stanford, they didn't get back into the gym till January. So, from a safety standpoint, maybe they're not pushing the difficulty to make sure these guys are ready to compete. Looks like Kyle's score came in 12-7. He tied with Matt Davis. Matt Davis had 0.5 of start value on him, but his execution obviously made him tie up there. So It's good to see. But with Springfield, these guys didn't start training till in January, right? And we're already in the season. To see them come in here, get all these meets under their belt, it's no easy task again. So both teams have their own areas of adversity that they had to face, and they're handling it. That's like college men's gymnastics. All these teams, they are rolling with the punches, and they're handling it, and they're dealing with it.
Yeah, very nice. That tiebreaker from Kyle and Matt Davis is going to be broken by execution score, so Kyle Lishenko technically is going to be in first place on the horizontal bar. But here's our last routine, Dom Romaglio. Been a real integral part. Really nice to see the senior going out here and having a good day on his senior night. It's been a really good
double
meet.
Front over the bar.
Nice.
Sheesh.
Nice.
Really nice double front over the bar. Unconventional dismount. And I think that's going to do it. You see Springfield getting hype over there in the camera. And we're going to kick it to the event overview, but I want to say thank you to everyone that came out. And if you guys mentioned, we haven't done any donation stuff this entire live stream, but we still are looking for more donations to continue the stream and to just create more opportunities for men's gymnastics. And we're trying to do that all through Verdius and some of our own endeavors. So we do want to remind you that we do have that Venmo code that is currently fading in and out of the Gymnastics Network logo on the bottom right. And also we have the link in the bio if you do choose to donate as well.
Yep, but I am just tallying up the scores right now to see who won this game. I really want to know. But at the same time, too, I see in the chat, it is pretty cool to know that Springfield went out on a really good meet for their seniors tonight. Unfortunately, they lost to Army, but I would say they're fairly happy with their performance tonight. For sure.
I think both teams actually got season highs today. Springfield's season high before today was at the 74, so they beat that by over a point. Army, 377.85. They went to 78. So both really, really good meets for both these teams.
And I think you bring up a really good point, Psych. Fortunately, the pandemic has affected us, a lot of us in a negative way. I got to get a little familiar with some of your guys because they were actually training in our gym through the pandemic. So it affected a lot of us in a negative way. So to see these guys go out there and compete, even if they were, safe routines, really speaks to, their strength, their love of the sport, and their love for their team. And it really speaks to their competitiveness as well. So I'm glad to see these guys out there and improving. That point is a big deal.
This year has been very strange for a lot of gymnasts. And that term, rolling with the punches, is exactly how I'd like to describe it. Everybody just been rolling with the punches, and I think it's been a pretty successful year for everybody. And congrats to all the Springfield seniors on their senior night. They all deserve it. And I'm just happy to be able to cast this meet with you guys. I think we had two amazing guests. So I want to say thank you to Psych and to Sean now, and everyone else in the chat. You could say your goodbyes or whatever to them, or say your questions to them before they leave. And if you guys want to say anything.
Yeah, no, thank you again for this opportunity. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a fun meet. It was fun hosting with you guys.
Oh, do you have any shout outs? Game Time Gymnastics is
Scott
sorry,
Burns.
that is Scott.
No
So that was Scott. Do you have any shout outs? Or where our viewers can find you on social media?
Yes, and unfortunately I can't see any of the comments, so I apologize. I'm not shouting you out because I don't see your comments, so I apologize. But you can find me on my name, Sean Golden, on Facebook or Instagram, Sean.Golden13. You can find me there as well. And I'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun. I love talking about gymnastics, maybe to a level of being problematic. But this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. I threw in my at Psych Caesar is my Instagram, Twitter's everything. But yeah, it was a good time. Thanks, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Love that you're broadcasting these meets to the public, getting them to understand a little bit more about the sport and appreciate what collegiate men's gymnastics is all about.
Well, thank you guys for being here. It truly was a blast, but I hate to break it to you guys. Cannon and I did win the Texas Stick'em, so unfortunate, but reigning champs here in the studio. But thank you guys so much for being here. It was really fun. It was a nice cast because normally we don't get two people that have so much gymnastics knowledge and experience. So that was a real treat. I was a little bummed we didn't get our graphics up today, but sometimes technology just doesn't do the things you want it to ever do ever. But that's okay because through the power of Verdius, we were given the opportunity to even do the meet, which was an absolute blast. And we've been looking forward to this for a long time. So thank you so much for being here. And I think we're just going to end it right now unless you guys got anything else you want to say. But shout out to all the fans. Thanks for coming out, and thanks for supporting us with Meet the World.
Yes, shout out Springfield Senior. Had a really good.
Springfield Seniors, if you watch this back and you want to do interviews, hit me up on the DMs, and we'll talk. Alrighty. Peace out.